Hello, I'm Paul Briley, and you're listening to Off the Comma. On this podcast, we explore all facets of what it means to feel stuck in life. We talk with people just like us who have found themselves sitting on a comma and not knowing where to go next. We'll unpack the experience, where they felt stuck, what they experienced, and what they learned. My goal is to inspire you by seeing yourself in others and finding possibility for yourself. Let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Off the Comma. We are here for another awesome kind of session of storytelling and listening and reflecting and really another opportunity to learn more about ourselves through the stories of others and to learn about others through kind of our reflections and references to ourselves in the storytelling. So this week we have a new guest. Every week is a new guest. That's silly that I say that. But we have with us Polly Lovell, and I'm going to let her introduce herself here in just a moment. Polly and I haven't really met, we spent time talking in person, but we come through a similar professional circle and we've chatted through the virtual channels and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know Polly a little bit more today and building on what we've already learned about each other and what I've learned about her and hearing more about her experiences through her story. So this week is no exception to all the other weeks. Very exciting that we've been here 123 different weeks to do this storytelling podcast. And I have many, many, many more episodes already lined up to record. So I'm very excited about this. And Polly, today I'm very excited about adding you to our community of storytellers. So Polly, I'm going to let you introduce yourself before we get into your story. Why don't you start with, as we always do, Polly, how would you like to be known? And then what else would you like for folks to know about you?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, thank you for allowing me to be part of your 123rd episode. So really excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking with you. So yeah, I would like to be known as Polly, obviously, but also I am in, I would call it my glorious 60s,
Mm,
and I would say I want to describe myself, and it sounds maybe a little bit negative, but it isn't at all, as a survivor.
mm,
And the reason I say that, I feel like I have survived many kind of chapters, personally, professionally, and emotionally. And this year has been particularly interesting in that I have left what has been a 30-year leadership career in
mm,
education, and have pivoted a major pivot into being a coach full time, and completed my NLP training this year. And so it's been a kind of a special year. It's been really interesting. So I
mm.
think my feeling is that I've gone through a lot in my life to get to this point where I could close that door and open a new door.
A lot of experiences, a lot of life lived, and a lot of things that you've observed and seen and kind of witnessed along the way. Polly,
Mm.
how would you? I know you and I were kind of talking about this before we record, and one of the questions I always ask, in the kind of the guest intake process is like, what adjectives would you use to describe yourself as a person? As you sit here with us today, having just reflected on sort of this kind of robust life,
Yeah.
what adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Um, I would say I am empathetic. I have moved from a role where I worked in special needs. I worked with special needs children, working with pupils with behaviour challenges, and with staff. So I've always had kind of an empathetic, um, guide to what I do in life,
Mm,
working with parents, with families. And that has made me into a very insightful person, I would say. I pick up on emotions. I can read people really well. So I feel like I'm fairly insightful. And that's something I've always had from a young age. I could always feel hackles up when there was someone I wasn't, like, I didn't want to be friends with. There,
mm,
there was
mm.
always something there. And yeah,
Sounds
I
like
can
a bit
remember.
of intuition there as well,
Yeah,
insight and intuition.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm exceptionally driven. The fact that I have left 30 years of education, it wasn't about like retiring for me. It's about my next chapter. And that's really important to me that I continue.
Hmm.
And if I feel like I've moved from service to purpose, and that is the move that I've made.
Okay. That sounds like a big shift, and it sounds like it's something in there around your values too,
Mm,
in terms of that shift and that transition.
yeah, absolutely.
Polly, as you look ahead to the next, 40 minutes or so and telling your story
Mm.
with us today, what intention would you have for yourself?
I think my intention is to be able to share with people, and this is really important to me, that it's never too late to transform your life. And I think that's really
Mm,
important to hold on to. There's a lot of ageism out there, there's a lot of people thinking that that's it. And I want to feel like I can reassure people that it certainly isn't. And you've got a whole new chapter, a whole new story that you can rewrite.
mm, mm. I love that, and that really resonates with me because I'm kind of in a similar age, not to self-reference for a moment. Um, my intention today is to support you in that intention, which of course, obviously, I said resonates with me. But my hope is that in you telling your story today, there will be people out there who will see a little bit of themselves in you and your
Mhm.
story. They will feel a little connected, a little less alone, and in the best of cases, maybe even feel inspired or empowered to go out and do something that they've been wanting to do. Nice.
Absolutely.
Let's jump in then. I'm curious to
Yeah.
hear more about your story. So, Polly, the first question we always ask here is, where in your life have you found yourself sitting on a comma?
So, um, for me, and I had to really think through this because the reflection of across my life and the decades that I've experienced quite a few changes is that I have sat on several commas.
Hmm.
I really have, where I've had to pause with disbelief, pause with uncertainty, and pause knowing that I absolutely had to make change. Um, but I want to pick on like two because I think they're
Okay.
linked. Um, and the first is, and they're both, for me, they feel quite profound in the change that they had for me. So I was sitting on a comma in a marriage where I was very, very unhappy. And I'd been in that marriage feeling very stuck. Um, Not stuck for the whole 25 years, but we were coming up to 25 years.
Mm,
And I was looking at my life and looking forward and thinking, I can't be with this person. I can't grow old with this person. Our values are so different now. And this person is holding me back.
mm,
And so that was a place where it forced me to go through a lot of pain to get to the point where I needed to be. Um, and then the second part of that is it's interesting that when I went through that part of sitting on that comma, was I realized that this was going to be really traumatic and that um, I shouldn't drink during this period.
mm.
I Because I need to have my wits about me. I need to go through this process. It's going to be difficult, so I'm not going to drink. And I went through it, and it was very dark. And I came out the other side, and I kind of started drinking again, thinking actually I've had that challenge of arriving at now being divorced and being able to move on and feeling safe that I could just start to moderate and drink. And interestingly, I came out the other side of that, and lots happened around me opening up the doors for me to really develop in my career. I mean, I just flew career wise, having
Hmm.
left this marriage where it was really closed and not helping me move forward or grow. But I started drinking again, and that kind of culminated in um, 2021 post COVID, me being in a very high pressure career, working in two really challenging schools, really difficult times with COVID. and the drinking just escalated, and it was due to
Mm,
the stress that I was dealing with. And in May 2021, I sat on a comma on a sofa, feeling really sick and really unhealthy, with extreme palpitations,
mm,
high cholesterol, high blood pressure, going, this isn't the job, this isn't stress, this is the booze, honey, and you need to do something
mm,
about it.
mm. I want to just jump in for a moment and give you got to give you a pause too, but I want to reflect and I want to acknowledge something. So this is also I mentioned earlier that you and I kind of run in some similar circles. We have this in common. We share this
Mm,
alcohol kind of element between us. I also had quit drinking. I suspect you're going to be telling us a little bit about your experience of quitting drinking, and so there's a lot of what you have said already and will say that I can certainly relate to. What's interesting is how the way in which these two commas relate. They
mm.
seem like separate ones, but it's like sort of the events of the one comma culminated, as you were
Yeah,
saying, in the happening of the second comma. And it's also interesting. I'd love for you to share a little bit more. You got a lot of time to share a lot here about your story, but what I was curious about is for your first comma for now, this
mm,
element of I was really clear that I needed to not have alcohol while I was dealing with this, but then afterwards it was okay. A lot of times in our podcast, people listen and they're like, yeah, 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 I get it. I get it. I've been there. I know what there's a lot of assuming, right? But this is kind of what I call a peel back the onion moment where tell us for you what was that like? What was that really like for you to know that you didn't want to drink while you were, working on ending your relationship or however that unfolded, and then go back to it? Like, what was that like
yeah,
for you?
yeah. So I think, I mean, I was in a place where I had two children. I had a high, I was teaching at the time, a high pressure job. I was going through like a really bad, really difficult divorce. Um, I ended up with like no money and a house that was had no furniture in it. I won't go into all the details, but it
Mm,
was difficult time. And the last thing, I mean, I'm bright enough to know what alcohol does. So I
mm,
was like, I don't need to throw that into the mix. I need to be there for my kids. I need to be there actually understanding what is going on. There was a lot of legal stuff going on, and I need to understand it. And like being in a place where I was drinking didn't feel like a good place to be. So it was kind of like, a, people go on a kind of 100-day challenge. This was my kind
mm.
of divorce challenge. And I
Okay.
think when you get to the end of a challenge, you kind of go, oh, I did it. I ticked that box. So I kind of ticked the divorce box and thought, right, I can celebrate now. I can have a drink. And so instead
Mm,
of thinking, actually, I feel really good, I feel great, I've gone through this, I'm going to continue, I went back to drinking. I think also I was going down, dating people, and I thought I can't
mm-hmm.
go out and in the culture in England is very, as in most places now, is like, you go out for a drink. If anybody asks you on a date, it's going for a drink. So it was like, I'm going to go for a drink, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm chuckling because I remember the days when we said, dating, right? You say dating, it's like, I can't do that without a drink. And
Yeah.
now in today's world, it's kind of like, well, God, I can't do that without a drink. Dating is rough. But so you had this clarity of mind to know that you didn't want to drink while you were dealing with a divorce, and then like you said, you came back into it as you started to put yourself back out there again and
Yeah.
dating,
Yeah.
and then kind of tell us a little bit more about what unfolded that led you up to what you've already shared or kind of previewed for us. This It resumed, it escalated, and now I
Yeah.
have this realization.
Yeah, but absolutely. I think, I mean, with the divorce, became this that gave me this freedom. Um, I mean, I remember going in and looking at like I had one role, one job where I'd left, and this is while I was going through my divorce, and my PA said to me, "There's 212 messages on your answering machine box, and they're from my
Mm,
ex-husband. Where are you? What are you doing?" And so suddenly, to be able to have that freedom, to be able to just pursue the career I really wanted to pursue, it opened lots of doors, and I felt the freedom just to look at different things. And I took on some really challenging roles in schools that were about to be closed down, that I was like going to fight for and keep
mm,
open, and it was a really exciting time. But with it came, lots of stress, lots of press coverage, lots of working. I had to go down to Parliament to work with, kind of to try to work with my MP to not close the school. There was just so many things going on, um, and then kind of COVID happened, and
mm,
it was really, I think, for a lot of people it was really stressful because schools still stayed open, but the challenge of trying to manage all of that, manage staff, manage people, manage pupils, manage parents, manage exams, all of those things, while making significant changes to the schools that we were working in,
mhm.
was a challenge. And I just started using drink as a crutch to stress, to reward.
Yeah, and I'm glad you acknowledged that. I thought about that earlier. Like the pandemic plays a big part in this, not to
Yeah,
excuse it, right? But I mean, that
yeah,
was a big deal. You talked about this period in your life, and then what I think many parents will get. But if you're not a parent, and you're not connected in some way to the education system one way or another, it wasn't just you, like every other profession and every other person and going through it. You all were dealing with the shifting suddenly, like abruptly, to a
yeah,
virtual model, remote learning, and then many of us, I know not everybody has heard what that was like. And it's not just the transition to the technology, but then the adoption on the part of the students. And then suddenly the students are at home staring at a screen. Parents have to be at home with them. Everybody's in the same house, blah, 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 blah. So
yeah,
tremendous pressure and tremendous stress on top of what was already a stressful job,
yeah,
sounds like.
absolutely. Yeah, no, completely. And we were still running schools because we had all our pupils with special needs, and anybody who had a parent who was an essential worker, they came into school. So we're
Mm.
running two systems, really.
At a time when that was kind of taboo because of the
Yeah,
lockdowns, the
yeah.
shutdowns, and so forth.
But we had to run two systems. So a lot of stress, and a lot of drinking, and a lot of just getting into this pattern of drinking, to the point where and I still got the metrics on my phone. I can look at it on my Apple Health,
Mm.
where I could see my heart rate going up, and my all of my metrics like just going through the roof. And it happened twice, really quite significantly. And
Mm.
I was on medication. I was on medication for heart, medication for cholesterol. And I just thought to myself, where is this going? Where is
Mm.
this going? And And 6 months previous to this, in the December, my daughter had quit drinking. She'd moved back from Chicago to the UK, and we'd all gone in this kind of drinking kind of mode through lockdown. But she had made the decision to quit, and I just saw her just flourishing. I mean, it was amazing,
Mm.
and I just reached out to her and I said, I need to quit drinking. And so that was the moment that I made the decision.
Mm. What was that like for you? I mean, first of all, I want to acknowledge you for that's a powerful moment, right?
Yeah.
Um, a couple of things in your timeline. Being able to turn it off when you were going through your divorce. Not a lot of
Hmm.
people. I've seen and experienced myself different reactions to life events, right?
Mm.
Sometimes the higher the pressure, the more you drink. Sometimes I drink the same no matter whether the pressure is high or
Mm.
low. And then there are some who the pressure ramps up, the drinking goes down or stops. I too have had moments in my life where something really, significant is happening and it just turned off for me, even though I was like a very consistent and regular drinker. So I want to
Mm.
acknowledge that in you. And then, having been through everything that you've described so far, to be able to kind of look at yourself, look at your health, and then see an example and say, hey, I might want that too.
Yeah.
What was that decision making process or event like for you? Like, what were you thinking as you were thinking, I might be giving this up? Which
Um,
I want to acknowledge that's often what goes through our head, right? Is I'm giving this
yeah,
up. So
yeah.
I'll let you speak to it in your terms.
Yeah, it was a very honest moment where I had to like really be honest with myself and visualize my life where it was going to be if I didn't do something about it. And health wise, I could see that it was going to be a slippery slope. It wasn't going to go away.
Mm,
Um, and I I took on the kind of in a very strategic way, because that's how I work. I'm quite strategic about things. So I kind of made a plan, and my plan was that I would reduce. So I made the decision June 1st, I would reduce, and I
hmm
reduced all the way through, and I bought alcohol-free options, and I kind of got myself organized. And then on July 4th, which was Independence Day, I made the decision to, that was my last, well, the third was my last day. The fourth was the first day of being sober.
mm.
Yeah.
So some planning, some
Yeah.
foresight, a
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
What were your emotions like during that time frame?
Um, yeah, I was filled with fear, to be honest. It was very fearful. But I was also, there was a clarity there that this was the right decision. I had to do this. And talking with my daughter, I was really fortunate in that she had just qualified as a life coach.
Hmm hmm
So she said, "Mum, we'll do this together. I'll work with you. You've done it before. We'll do it again." So it was like, yeah, I can do this. And she was the only person I told. I didn't tell anybody else. I just kind of
Mm,
this. I think if you for me, it was like if I told everybody, I'd feel the pressure. But I just knew I had to kind of open this new doorway, and I had to be brave enough to step through it.
mm. When you made the decision, because you said there was a clarity there,
Hmm.
what was the decision? And I think that might sound like a funny question because you've already said you made the decision to quit. Was it a, let me shut up and let you answer the
No,
question.
no, I know what it is. I know what you're going to say. My decision was health. It was health driven,
Hmm
100%. And that's one of my values. My values is my health. And I don't think you can, what if it's taken away, you realize. I realized when I was having like 200 heartbeats per minute and I was about to be hospitalized that I did not want to go there anymore.
hmm
I didn't
Yeah.
want to be on medication. I didn't want to lead a life where I wouldn't be able to walk or do all the things. I wouldn't be able to be active. And I could see that if I didn't
hmm
make that choice.
Was it a forever decision or a, hey, let me stop and see where it goes?
Um, I think for me, it was a forever decision, but I took it one day at a time.
Hmm Yeah,
Yeah,
I was selfishly, that's what I was curious about because when I made
yeah,
the decision, I didn't make the similar things. I didn't make the decision until I knew it was for good, that it was always going to be an easy answer because there were only two choices, yes or no, and the answer
yeah,
always had to be no, right?
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and like you, I didn't tell anybody because everybody's experience is different when they make this kind of a transition, but I needed to be able to really be firm in myself with that
Yeah,
decision. Sounds like those were some similar elements to your kind of comma and getting off the comma kind of moment.
yeah.
Polly, let me ask the next question. This is a great build, and you can, as you answer the question, you can also go back into the story as much
Mm.
or more as you choose to. The second question is, as you look back at this comma you've described to us, or these two commas that you've described to us, what did that create for you?
Um, it's created definitely freedom. I think number
Mm,
one for me was freedom, freedom to be out of a marriage, which where I was very unhappy and I didn't have the freedom to to do what I needed to do in life, in terms of my career. Um, and so I think that's absolutely. And then freedom, as in being able to be healthy and to be
Mm,
active. I think those two are really absolutely. And then this moving from, which has changed because I quit in 2021, so I was 57, I'm 61 now, and moving from what I call service to purpose.
hmm hmm
um, that has been where I feel I have kind of stepped into, which is a real kind of sea change. Yeah,
mm.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's explore that a little bit more. So I had two things I'm curious about, but you said from service to purpose in your intro, and then you just touched on that
hmm
a little bit more.
Mm.
Say more about what that means for you specifically.
Well, I think I've worked in a career which was education and leadership, and I saw myself as a teacher or head teacher, a leader, in education. And within that, um, it was about serving others, and that was really important to me. What I realized going through sobriety, and becoming alcohol free was, an awakening for me where I was able to really see my future. And as I said in the preface, was about kind of having my second act,
Hmm
which I feel I am in now. And I felt that, within that, there was this real strong sense of, I need to shout about this. I need to tell people about this. I want other women to feel this. I don't want them to feel like I was. Um, and so that sense of purpose came through. And I think when I, realized that there was sobriety coaches out there, I was like, I need to do this. I need to pivot into being a sober coach. And it was this sense of purpose that has taken me down this route. And I've, since done NLP training, and that was the
hmm
next bit, was actually when you're coaching women and they come through, or people generally, I'm not just saying women, but anybody, if you're coaching to become alcohol free, so many things open up. It's not just about the booze, is it? It's not just about
hmm
alcohol. So, for me, my career was like, actually, do I really want to do this? Yeah. Where do I want to live? What do I want to do? So all these questions start to open up, and they open up for a lot of people. So I think that was really important that I did this additional training really to help people on the journey of what goals they want. So that was my kind of service to purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's similar. You, like so many of your kind of contemporaries that I've talked to here on this podcast, it's from service to purpose, or rather, or in addition to the pain that they've experienced with whatever that comma brought to
hmm
them, then sort of becomes the product or the purpose, or how do I help others who might also be experiencing this? For the benefit of our listeners, NLP training, what you're referring to there is NLP is neuro linguistic programming, and
hmm
it's a set of techniques that many therapists and coaches and practitioners use in therapeutic and therapeutic adjacent style practices, but anybody can use it. And what NLP is it's a blend of techniques and methods that bring in kind of cognitive or mental and somatic or physical types of practices to help us get through different types of moments that we might be having in our lives, whether it's, negative thoughts or sabotaging voices, or I'm in a moment where, I might be on the brink of some degree of an attack, like a panic attack or something like that. And so that's what NLP is. I encourage folks certainly to Google it, look it up, read books, or take a program, right?
It's amazing.
And so what was your motivation? I think we can kind of assume that when you said, oh, okay, well, now I'm sober, I want to be a sober coach. That makes some sense.
Mhm.
What was it about the NLP training? What were you hoping or seeking in the training? Or what did you gain? Maybe is a better question.
So I experienced NLP for myself through, Jamie. So Janie Lee Grace, who was the trainer for our sobriety coaching,
Mhm.
everybody knows her from her podcast. I did a session with her, and she used NLP on me, and it was about money mindset because I was very stuck with my money mindset about being able to leave my role and move into coaching.
Mm.
And the piece of work we did was so illuminating, and it went way back to me being 5 with my mum with
Mm.
mental health condition, and I hadn't even figured it out. And through that process, I went, so it was I was able to I was able to move on and shift and go. I'm leaving education and doing coaching full time,
Hmm.
and that was the power of NLP.
Okay. It really helped you through a comma moment in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, so I think for me, NLP really helps my clients where if I think, for a lot of clients, you get really stuck on a word perhaps that really, so it could be something like trust. And in fact, if you don't trust yourself or you have this mistrust, some of those emotions that you just go to when you're drinking, you're numbing the feelings. And
Hmm.
so if you're using drink to numb anxiety, mistrust, dishonesty, whatever you've experienced, then you'll just keep going back to it. So you need to deal with the emotion. So what NLP does is actually work through the emotion so you don't feel the need to
Mm.
to drink.
Mm. So here's one more question before we get to the third of the five, because you're just I love the conversation because you're prompting like so many questions coming to mind. There's so much that you can share here. Based on what you just said, though, like whether it's alcohol or we've seen it with pills, drugs,
Yeah.
exercise, sex, food, sugar, you name it, right? Anything that
Hmm.
we constantly go back to numb or distract us or kind of take us away, we're numbing, we're soothing some other pain or some other thing,
Mm.
right? What was that thing for you in your relationship with alcohol? What do you think? Well,
Um, yeah.
it's you've described some situational things. Was there something broader, or was it situational?
I think it was situational, but I think that I had the word for me was regret. Oh, and even now, and I did
Mm,
a lot of work on it. It's still there a little bit. I can still
mm,
feel it, and I have to work through it. And there's a lot of regret of maybe not doing the things that I wanted to do earlier in my life, around my career. I've done a lot of things. It's been fascinating. I've lived in the US. I've moved over 30 times in my life. Um,
mm,
so
mm,
there's been a lot of change. And sometimes I look back on that and think, well, if I'd done like in a different way, would the outcome have changed, or would I be in a different position? I mean, I'm gloriously happy now, I have to say, but regret is the word that I had there
mm.
that really helped me.
Sounds like that has a fair amount of pain
Yeah.
associated with it.
Hmm.
Since you mentioned that and shared that with us, let me go to the third question, and that is, what have you learned, or what are you learning about yourself as a result of sitting on these two commas that you've described?
Mm. I have learned that I have exceptional strength.
Mm,
Um, I've learned that um, all of the experiences I've had has built this core resilience in me, um, and I'm really proud of that. Um, I have pushed through kind of years of numbing, and I'm in a place where I am capable of understanding and working through emotions that I still have.
mm,
And I think that's really important. Um, and what I've learned from myself is that I can move into and be a person who can reinvent themselves, and which I have twice. probably three
Mm,
times.
mm. That's really powerful because it sounds to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, like you were able to, I'm taking some liberties here, so by all
Go
means,
for it.
correct me. You were able to rewrite some stories that you told yourself in the past when you were using alcohol to numb, then
Hmm.
that was the way you solved things, and now you
Hmm.
solve things in a different way. It seems like
Hmm.
you've rewritten a story and a belief, rewired a
Hmm.
belief.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
completely. I'm a different person to the one I was. Um, I'm I've always been resilient. I've always had that strength, but it's a different kind of strength. I can feel it. It's
mm,
like right deep inside of me. And I exude that. I feel it and I can see it in my clients. I can work with them. I can see pain. I know where to tap into with clients. Um, and I'm a different person with my children as well. I feel I'm much, they say, Mum, you're so grounded now. You're so like
mm,
together. So, but I feel like I'm still learning as well. And I want to learn more.
mm.
So I think that's what I've learned about myself that I need to continue to learn.
Yeah. Well, and it's also inspirational, right, to others because I'll use myself as an example, and I know there are folks who are listening who many of them probably are feeling the same thing. Like I look back to the days when I just couldn't envision a day when I wasn't going to use my wine to calm down, to unwind, and to detach from the day, the work, and the problems, right?
Absolutely.
And then you fast forward to a day like you've described, which I'm sure is similar, or rather, I would say I probably have had, similar experiences where the problems don't go away, the work doesn't go away, the issues don't go away. But
No.
man, you do have other ways. You really do.
Yeah.
You have the capability, the ability, as you said, this exceptional strength, the core resilience, right? And you do have the ability. And it's not necessarily more fun or easier, but it is, I don't know, you fill in that blank. I was going to use my own word. Let me let you use your own word. It's not necessarily more fun or easier, but it is fill in the blank.
It's different. It's just different, I would
Hmm.
say. As I say to a lot of people, it's not about your identity changes and you need to go with that. You go with the flow of who you become. And you can't go, oh, but this is what I used to do. Your life becomes completely different. This is what I do now. This is what I
Hmm.
do for fun. This is what I do for stress. So I go to the gym three times a week and I lift crazy amounts of weights, and I
Nice.
love it. Yeah. And
Nice.
I'm really strong. And that makes me feel strong. And I have this kind of just inner strength, but a physical strength as well. So I think that's really important. That's part of who I am. I've got this like the coaches community, the people I'm meeting on this journey. I think this building of community for me is very, very different to the one I had where I just went to the pub and had drinks with people.
Mm. Yeah. Well, and a lot of shift and no hangovers, right? Like
Yeah,
that's a lot of times when we're drinking, we think, well, at least I got to drink and have a good time. Yeah, but you were potentially equally as burdened with the after effects of it. And that's not the case
absolutely.
anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And things just look different. Um, and it's maybe sounds strange to people, but actually when you go outside and you see a sunset or a sunrise. It's just the most powerful thing, being
Mm.
sober. It's so much more powerful now than it
Mm.
was when I was drinking because it feels so real.
It's interesting, right? You just kind of prompted me. It is really as powerful and amazing as you tell yourself it is when you're buzzed looking at the same sunset, right? It's still there. It's still just as moving
Yeah,
without the
yeah,
alcohol,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Polly, I feel like you've answered a fair amount the fourth question, but I want to give you an opportunity to add to
Mm.
it. Question four is what has changed for you or what is changing for you as a result of sitting on this comma?
So my health has changed dramatically. So if I
Mm,
look at my stats and my metrics from when I was really unhealthy with drinking. They are night and day.
Mm,
So, my VO2 max is high for my age. I can lift heavy weights, I can run, I can walk, I don't have aches and pains. So health has been like completely changed. For me, that
mm.
is gives me freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
I was curious about that earlier. That was one of the earlier I said I have two questions and I only asked one. The other one was I was curious to hear about the impact on your health and you've kind of shared
yeah,
about that and
yeah,
your lifting. I interrupted you though.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm not on medication anymore, so that's all gone. No
Mm,
medication. Yeah.
that's
So,
awesome.
my confidence has increased. It's changed in a different way. I was always confident. I was confident what I was doing, but now there's this inner confidence of who I am, and my belief in my values are so strong.
Mm.
And I'm not like a people pleaser at all anymore. I can say, no, I don't want to do that.
What I think I'm almost hearing also is that that underlying piece is peace.
Mm, mm, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Peace and purpose, and constant like growth. It's like, yeah, because at the moment I'm thinking, I really want to live in France. And I'm like, what? So I was talking to my husband. I'm like, well, yeah, of course we can go. We can go and live in France for 3 months a year if we want to. Let's do it. So we're like, okay.
Hmm. I love it because I'm self-referencing too much here, but it's like
It's
those are the
great.
kinds of things like I think to the kind of stuff I'm doing now myself, right? Like when you're drinking, you're buzzed and you have these ideas, let's go live in France for 3 months. And there's like the next day you're like, that was just me drinking. Now you can have that thought and actually take action
Yeah,
on it, right?
yeah, absolutely,
That's awesome.
absolutely. So I feel like I'm taking action on a lot of things. Yeah, the business, I'm really enjoying that. I'm learning from it. I'm learning about like websites and how to do things that I've never done before. And it's all, I'm doing a nutrition course as well. I forgot about that.
Mm,
Medicinal nutrition course with Dale Pinnock.
nice.
So that's
Okay.
exciting as well. Yeah. So it's
Okay.
given
So a
me a
lot.
whole new redirection to life, basically.
Yeah, a lot has changed, not just kind of physically and environmentally, but internally, and as you said, and at this stage of your life too, where a lot of people think about slowing down and unwinding and kind of,
Hmm.
deconstructing everything. You're deconstructing and rebuilding all at the same time,
Mm.
and look at all these new directions that you're headed in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Polly, question 5 is, what does getting off the comma look like for you?
I guess for me, it's action over avoidance.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, deciding that fear does not run the show anymore, and that an intentional, healthy, meaningful, aligned life with my values is where I am traveling. Yeah. And that
mm.
also anyone can rewrite their story. You're never too old to do that.
I love that. That's like the second time you've said that. So underscore bold italics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so inspiring, and yet it can also be scary, daunting, but I mean it's real. It's true.
Mm,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I wanted to, if possible, just share a poem that I wrote in 2010.
Mm,
Is that
sure.
okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think I wrote this when I was getting divorced, and I think it's quite helpful, just to remember, that empathetic, insightful, and driven. So I'll read it. Um, it's called Enter Details Here. Okay.
Hmm.
Where I am approaching a year, my heart blank, brain tired, body deserving, snapped. Once the dark shadow of a life was erased, I looked over my shoulder once, I looking forward, ahead and straight, strong and true, true and uncensored, mask removed, requiring desire, tasting freedom, a band removed, a signal a marker. You shaping my face, softening the blow. Body uncreased, safety engulfed, stargazer.
Mm. Mm. Tell us what is what is the most profound meaning in that poem for you?
I think it was just the divorce papers and enter your details here. And it
Mm.
was that release really of actually I was exhausted. I was really, really tired. But underneath there was this I can start to look forward. I can start to be on this journey. And I tasting freedom. It was there.
Mm.
It was, I remember being like this black hole and there was a little light I could see. It was coming. And I hadn't seen that
Mm.
in such a long time. So that was my kind of divorce poem. I wrote a lot of poetry. I do a lot of
Mm.
writing, but that was yeah.
It sounds like it's a way for you to kind of process or kind
Yeah,
of release thoughts or
yeah.
kind of bring thoughts into reality.
Mm,
And it seems like the process itself is sort of like a little bit of an exercise as well.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that.
No, you're welcome.
Polly, I know you and I could just sit here and carry on this vein and spin this web for many, many, many hours, I'm sure. But all podcasts have to come to an end as we wind down here. Two more things. So first of all, for people who do want to hear more, learn more, maybe ask more specific questions, or just check out what you're up to, I'll put all of the links in the show notes. Where can people find you?
I'm on my website, which is www.sobercoachpolly.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Polly Lovell, and I am on Instagram at Sober Coach Polly.
Polly, one of the things we do here on the podcast at the end of every episode is if this podcast is really about storytelling and lifting up people's voices and letting people be heard, your story wouldn't be complete if we didn't give you an opportunity to do the same thing for others. And so I call this section acknowledgments, and it's your opportunity to boost, give a voice to, or lift up others who might matter to you. And that could be causes and organizations, it can be other creators or just people in your circle who really matter to you. I'll put the
Hmm.
information in the show notes as well. Who would you like to acknowledge today?
So I would like to acknowledge the author Catherine Gray because it was the first book that my daughter handed to me and said to me, read this, Mum. And it's The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by Catherine Gray. And it was so powerful and it really moved me and really helped me in those first few weeks of sobriety. So thank you to Catherine for
Hmm.
writing such an amazing book. I'd like to thank Janie Lee Grace for taking me on the journey to sobriety coaching, but also helping me with that moment where I was able to process something that was really deep for me a long time ago and being
Hmm.
able to move into where I am right now. So thank you to Janie for that.
Hmm.
Um, I also would like to thank my daughter Hilbrey um, because she was my inspiration. She had become sober 6 months before, and she's just an amazing woman. She's 35 now, and she's just opened a gym. And I'm working at the gym as well as an NLP practitioner, which is incredible. So,
Nice.
yeah, so working together with her, but her journey has been equally as inspiring. So, thank you to Brie, and I'm just so proud of her.
Nice. Awesome. Polly, thank you for sharing. We're going to put links to all three of these amazing women in the show notes so that people can go and check them out or check out their social medias. And so I am just really grateful to you for coming and sharing your story with us today and letting me kind of jump in and banter with you as well, since we kind of have some things in common in your story and just huge acknowledgement for where you are today at this amazing point on your journey. So thank you for sharing with us.
Oh, thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead, and we will look forward to following your story as it continues to unfold.
Thank you so much, Paul. Take care.
You too. What an honor it is for me to hear and share these powerful stories. I hope you feel the same way. Think about what you learned from this conversation. I encourage you to write it down in some form of journaling or reflection, because surprises can reveal themselves to you when you write your thoughts down. If you were moved by today's conversation, pass it along to someone you care about. And if you do discover something you'd like to unpack further, book a call with me and let's talk about it. My links are in the show notes. Be sure to like this episode and follow the podcast here on this platform and all social media at Off the Comma. Feel free to interact and comment. Thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Comma. As always, keep noticing and keep listening.